So part of the things of being a caregiver, you got to understand that the news comes in two different ways. So the news comes to the patient or the person impacted by the disease, and then the information also comes to the caregiver. And so what I think I learned during this process, one of the most difficult parts for the caregiver is that you're playing a couple of different roles, sometimes even 3 or 4. And so I think one of the largest struggles I had as being a caregiver was that when you initially get the news, obviously Christina has her feelings on what was going on, and I had my feelings what was going on. And whether I think it's just human nature, but immediately, obviously, I can't concern myself with my feelings. I've got to tailor myself to Christina and her feelings and what's going on with her, right? So on the initial onset of when they said, you've got cancer and stuff like that, it hit her with a sledgehammer, but it hits the caregiver with a sledgehammer as well. And obviously I'm not gonna take care of my feelings initially because I need to make sure that she's taken care of. So what happens from the very onset of the diagnosis is that the caregiver continuously has to put their personal feelings aside to be the strength and support of the patient. Is that the word we're using?
Yep.
So during this whole process, and what happens is that it exponentially increases as you go through the process. So you don't want to look weak for the patient because, again, you're trying to be their rock, right? You want them to be as strong as possible. You can't show weakness, so you're stuck, in your bedroom at night, having your feelings, or on your way to the hospital to see them with your feelings. But you have to turn that off, like a faucet, on and off, because once you get to the patient, you're supposed to be their oak, and you don't want them to see that. And so what happens is that just has to do with the two people that go through it. But then you have to talk about family, and you have to talk about extended family, and you have to talk about people you work with. So now all of a sudden, when it's just me and her, I'm able to bury my feelings and put them aside to act strong in front of her. When I leave the hospital, I cry myself home every day. But then when it comes to people at work or your family, they're concerned about you. They're like, hey, how's Christina doing? You got to be strong for them. You put your feelings away again. So you put up a strong face for them. Your boss asks you, how's it going? Your friends ask you, how is it going? So you continuously, not necessarily poked about it, but it just always brings to the surface. So you never actually have a time to escape your thoughts. Decompress. You're always on, and you always have to put yourself second. And so I say this not in a selfish way.
No.
For a caregiver, the most important thing I could say is that immediately you got to talk to somebody, because if you try to channelize that and harbor it all internally, it will completely crush you. And I consider myself a pretty strong individual. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it at all. And so going through the caregiver side, reach out and ask for as much help as possible. Talk to as many people as you can.
And be honest about the feelings that you're having.
But again, so another tough thing is looking at it in hindsight. People say, well, you should have got help, and we talked about this earlier. You should have got more family and stuff and help like that. My personal challenge with that is that I have to maintain so much strength that if I felt like I was reaching out, I was weaker. And reaching out for help is not weaker. It's making you actually stronger, because of the times that you do, if you are able to put it aside and decompress and take a break from it and then come back, you're actually more strong than if you're going through the marathon 24/7. So it turns into individual sprints rather than the entire marathon. My concern with giving up some of that assistance is that I felt like if I was gonna take time off, she doesn't get to take time off, right? She's dealing with this 24/7, I can deal with it 24/7. If she's strong enough to fight it, I'm strong enough to go through it. And if I'm not, she doesn't get a break, right? So there's no reason why I should take a break. So from the caregiver's perspective, I should have reached out for more help from family and friends and stuff, but it was a battle that we both went through.
Yep.
And so if she was going 100%, I was gonna go 100%.
And we thought we could handle it.
Oh, totally.
That we thought we were so strong that that we didn't need anybody's help. And that's the thing that we learned together, is that no one is that strong.
No.
No one is that strong.
Not at all. Not at all.